Alright, video number 2 for the day. You can see my road dog back there staring at you, looking at you. Hopefully he won't start barking during this video. He was good during the last video though. Maybe he likes hearing my voice and likes taking this advice. He's gonna apply this advice, when he's out slaying the bitches. Right, Amos? Gonna slay some bitches. Vega would slay, but I think he might actually be gay. Which is fine, I accept him for what he is. He's in the back of the cage because he can't behave without that. So, anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about monogamy a little bit. Alright, so women are socially conditioned, most of them, like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Less and less are really fake in the front nowadays. Some you get some honesty a little bit. Honesty, I use that term loosely, but some who will say, I'm just not interested in monogamy or a long-term relationship. But for the most part, they're all going to say that they want a monogamous relationship. That's what they think they're supposed to say. And genuinely, I think that they do want that, though, especially if they are past their mid-20s. Because they know that they're, at some point, if they've reached that epiphany stage and they're in their, let's say, late 20s, early 30s, even for some, they've reached that point where they know that their sexual market value is on a decline. They're not as hot as they were before. Now, some females will get, hotter as they get older to a degree, but at some point, though, they know it's going to decline. They know they're not getting the same male attention that they were getting when they were 21, right? So they're realizing they're on a decline, and so they start to think long-term relationship, more so maybe than what they did before. They maybe said they wanted that shit before, but then of course they would, hop from guy to guy anyway and not actually be in a long-term relationship. Or if they were in one, they would cheat or whatever, you know what I mean? Or they'd have long periods of fucking around. And so, or short periods of fucking around in between long-term relationships, and it's all a bunch of bullshit, and they're just riding the cock carousel. But then they say, I want a long-term monogamous relationship, my forever guy, all this stuff. And then they present that idealism because they're thinking about long-term provisioning and planning. They know that at the current age they are now, let's say she's 30 years old, okay? The current age she is at 30, she is going to secure that her likelihood or probability of securing the best guy now at 30 that she can is going to go down in a year. It's going to go down, and say every day that passes is less and less of a probability because she knows that her attractiveness level is going to continue to decline as she ages. No, I'm not saying that, women past 30 aren't beautiful. I hope so, because I hope that my long-term relationship, when she gets past 30, I hope that she stays hot, right? I'm pretty sure she will. I'm not too worried about that. And yeah, there's 40 and 50-year-old women out there, women that are attractive, but that's not the point. The point is, a woman who's 40, even an attractive woman who's 40, chances she's not able to secure the same kind of male attention that she could secure when she was 21. So her options are more narrow. Okay, that's just the reality. So they start thinking long-term monogamy. But here are the facts, okay? The facts are we have hindbrain primitive drives. Some of those the primitive drives can go in two directions. It could go in a polygamous, polyamorous direction, where you require or crave the variety of different sexual partners. Or it could go into, a monogamous direction, where you get both validation as well as you get security, not validation security, but you get sexual drives and needs met within the monogamous confines because of the depth of that relationship. So going deeper with one person basically is rewarding for some, and they forgo that variety. For others, they require the variety. This isn't just some like it like this and some like it like that. No, this has to do with hindbrain drives, primitive biological drives that we've evolved to be. We have been a polyamorous, polygamous species for most of our existence, 190,000 years. 12,000 years ago, though, roughly, between 10 and 12, we became monogamous as a adaptive strategy when agriculture was introduced and you had to have long-term planning for resources. Okay? I won't go into a complete discussion on that, but that's the basis of it. So just know that you have two different drives. Well, you're going to crave the drives that you feed. Okay? So like, and this is not just in a genetic sense, but in any sense. If I work out regularly, if I don't work out for a bunch of days, I'm going to crave going to work out because I get a bunch of positive, reinforcement that are biochemical. I get positive behavioral reinforcement from the biochemical reaction in my body that I get from the workouts. So to deprave myself of that, for a bunch of days, I'm going to crave a workout. I'm going to want to go. Okay, my body that wants that reward of the chemical hits, the dopamine, the elated feeling after a good workout. That I'm going to crave that. I'm going to want that. So I'm going to want to go back in if I miss a bunch of days from working out. Well, I could just not be, if I don't work out for a couple years and then I start working out again, I'm going to crave not working out, right? Like I'm not going to want to go. My biochemical reaction has not been conditioned to reward me for that in the same way. So instead it's going to be painful, shitty, sucky. I got to force myself to get to the gym, that sort of thing. But once then I stimulate that process, maybe that happens. So you get what you stimulate, okay? You crave what you feed. And so, unfortunately, though, today, women feed polygamous drives when they're younger. Society tells them to do that. So they sleep around. Well, the data shows basically what happens is, if they're sleeping around, they're triggering polygamist drivers in their reward system. So the reward system gets conditioned for that variety. They get that dopamine, oxytocin, happy chemical hit from the chase, the variety, and the newness of a new partner. Once that wears off after a while, and a relationship kind of runs its course, and it could take 2 months or it could take 2 years, she's ready to move on, okay? Her hindbrain stops responding in the same way. So here's what then happens. She just devalues the person she's with. The little activities that, the little quirks he had that were cute are no longer cute. She starts bitching at him, nagging, getting more indignant, thinking, fabricating illusions in her head that he's just going to leave her, he's just going to do this, he's going to do that, treating him in a way that's not really acceptable, and then being indignant and mad and blaming him for him responding in a negative way to that. She'll do things to break him down and break the relationship, and then use that as an excuse or opportunity to cheat in that relationship, and then mate swap, or set up a male orbiter and then dump him. That's usually what happens. Sometimes she just dumps him and then sleeps around again. Okay? But that is what the drive is. She, in her heart of hearts, wants monogamy, but her hindbrain is ruined. Let's pretend for a minute she slept with 35 people. Okay? Well, the data shows that after you sleep with 13 people, you have a far greater chance of reporting unhappiness and monogamy. Like hundreds of percentage is more than if you only slept with 3 partners. Okay? and a far greater chance of initiating divorce. And women initiate 75% of the divorces. A far greater chance of, like I said, reporting unhappiness or cheating. Far greater chance of cheating, okay? Because you're unhappy in your monogamous situation. And we always want to blame the guy for that, but you have to understand that some women, and when I say some, I mean a lot of women, are not wired for monogamy no matter what they tell you and no matter what they want, what they fantasize about, what they desire. They slept with too many fucking people and they ruined their hindbrain drive, and it no longer works for monogamy for very long. After a certain period of time, she craves variety again. She starts looking around, craving different partners, and believing that the partner she's with is something's wrong with him, and then devalues him. Some of this is hypergamy at work, okay, always looking to mate upward. But even if she's with, Superman, like literally she's with the fucking Man of Steel, okay? He can fly and shoot lasers out of his X-ray lasers out of his eyes and all that shit, right? Like, doesn't matter. Like, she'll devalue him and then look to sleep with the fucking Joker or fucking Batman or, the Power Ranger down the street. And he might not even be a guy who's as dominant as Superman was, but doesn't matter. She'll devalue him. He's a dick, he's an asshole, he doesn't really care about me, this or that and the other. All shit that she instigated, she fabricated, or that, they were stuff that you already did before and now all of a sudden is a problem so many months or even a year or two later, and then she looks to mate switch. So the first step will be the devaluation. You'll be the biggest piece of shit in the world to her, and that she'll start threatening breakups and this, that, and the other, and then she'll mate switch. She'll just hop on to another guy. And she'll say that's not what she's going to do, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, after that breakup, just time it, how long it takes for her to bang someone else. Guaranteed it won't go past 2 months. And I'm being real generous by saying that, because usually it won't go past a week or two. That's if she's not banging someone else already. Okay? Chances are she's got her next cock lined up already to feed that poly drive that she has conditioned herself to fucking respond to since she was younger. This, by the way, is why female promiscuity is dangerous if you want traditional monogamy. Now, if you don't want traditional monogamy, then I guess it's not that dangerous. But if you want that ideal scenario where you have kids with a husband and you last forever and you grow old together and all that fucking happy horse shit, you are not doing yourself a favor, ladies, by hopping on a bunch of dicks when you're younger, because you're reconditioning your neurochemicals. Your brain is being conditioned to sleep with multiple people and not be happy with the one person. And it doesn't fucking matter who that one person is or how great they are. They could be fucking top notch. They could be the best looking dude in the world with $1 billion in their pocket and, super jacked and coaches with me every day so he knows exactly what to say and do, and still fuck it up. It still gets fucked up because she can't be monogamous. So there's warning signs for that and all that stuff, but man, that one can sneak up on you. Biggest warning sign is her behavior previous to the relationship. Now, that's not to say that a woman who slept with a bunch of dudes can't be monogamous. It's not a one-to-one comparison. You literally don't know, okay? It's a Russian roulette. We don't scientifically know the magic number. We know the magic number where the statistics, show, like the magic number is 13, I believe, where if she slept with over 13 people, there's like a 90% chance that, she won't be able to be monogamous. Like, 90%. But that does mean that there's like a 10% chance she could be, too. So there's plenty of people, and usually it's related to trauma, by the way. So women that sleep with a lot of dudes, but it's trauma-based, meaning that there's a lot of pain and trauma and shit involved in that. Perhaps bad experiences when she was younger, perhaps an abusive relationship early, stuff like that where there's trauma involved. That particular person might be able to pull off monogamy because it wasn't the happy chemical hit of the variety in the new partner each and every time that she was sleeping with somebody different, okay? But, you know, chances, that's a rare breed right there. So I'm not saying, like, you know, kick her to the curb if she slept with more than this number of people and all so forth. By the way, this is why women lie about how many dudes they've slept with, because they know this shit. Like, they know that dudes and it's like their hindbrain knows that guys are going to judge them based off this, not judge them as like a human being, but judge their viability for long-term mating. And that if she says, well, you know, I've slept with, like, you know, 75 dudes or whatever, like, and doesn't care, then he's probably not going to, he's less of a chance of long-term committing to her or seeing her as such. She knows that. This is why they lie, okay? So inherently, y'all know the shit I'm telling you right now. You know it because it's in your fucking hindbrain and you've evolved this way. This is why it sounds so familiar and why what I say makes sense. Because your your biological drivers are doing this stuff and you all know it, okay? But again, you have to condition, you have to feed the behavior that you want. And if so she spends a lot of time feeding polygamous drives, serial monogamy, like hopping from boyfriend to boyfriend with no breaks, all that kind of shit, like bunch of partners on top of it. By the time she settles with you, when she's, you know, 28, 29, 30, 32 years old, whatever, okay, she might not be wired for monogamy at that point. And at that point, maybe then you don't have that relationship with her. You know what I mean? Why be in a relationship with somebody who's just going to discard you anyways because they're not getting the variety that they want? Right? Don't do it. Okay? So, anyways, I could continue on with this video because there's so much to it, and it would be even longer than it is. But I just need to make that point because a lot of guys are just beside themselves. Why did this relationship? Because guys take responsibility for themselves, whereas women a lot of times don't. No offense, because a lot of times you don't. There's a lot of women that do, though, and those are good ones. I don't say they're good, but, you know, those are the ones that are good long-term prospects, the ones that do take responsibility for themselves. But there's an inherent survival need to not do that, actually, where dudes tend to do that. And so dudes go, well, where's the fuck up here? Where's the mess up? How come this relationship didn't work out? I did everything right, blah, 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 blah. A lot of times dudes don't do everything right. A lot of times dudes screw it up, all right? But a lot of times, too, they're not given any leeway whatsoever. So they don't have any leeway, you know? So they're given less and less rope, so to speak, as a relationship continues. When it shouldn't be that way, should it? Like, if they've been together longer, from a logic standpoint, she knows him, loves him, likes him, trusts him, he should have more rope, right? A little bit more rope, a little bit more opportunities to screw up and correct themselves, but he's given less rope. Why would that be, you know? The reason why is sometimes with some women, it doesn't matter what you do. They're going to walk out the door anyway. They're going to fuck the relationship up. They're going to create indignation, fabricate problems that don't need to be there, and create a problem so that the relationship can end because her hindbrain is no longer excited. She is literally bored in the relationship, and she's bored because the variety for her isn't there because she needs a new penis, and that's the basis of it. I hate to say it. You know, now there's ways to keep the variety up in monogamy, and that's important to do that. And there's ways to, obviously, you need to keep it fresh and interesting, especially in a sexual sense. And you need to do the things that made you attractive to begin with, okay? Not to stop doing those things. So there's a number of things guys need to do. However, just know that in some cases, you can do every fucking thing right, and it will not matter. So that's why definitely I recommend that you're not getting married. You're not probably don't get married at all in the way that the marriage laws are right now and stacked against you. But if you do want kids and you want that commitment, you know, and you want that, you know, cohabitation, living situation, you want maybe that marriage, don't put your assets together and do all that stuff unless you're sure. And you usually can't be sure for at least a few years. Give it 2 or 3 years to see if she can do monogamy and be happy in it, or if she's going to look for escapes from her monogamy when it gets boring for her. And understand, though, that this is a lot of times what happens, and this is the reason why there's a 7 to 10 year itch, is that women will create things to do throughout the relationship to keep themselves interested. But then once those things wear off, the boredom sets in. Why boredom? Because she can't be happy in monogamy. So then it's a divorce. This is why 75% of women initiate a divorce, and it's at between the 7 and 10 year mark that these divorces are initiated. Why is that? So let's track a normal relationship. They're together, let's say, for a year. The newness starts to wear off, so what happens? They start planning an engagement. Oh, he asked me to marry him. So boom, excitement again. Now the variety bug is tickled a little bit, right? New excitement, let's focus on the engagement. Now it's engagement parties and wedding planning. So that's a distraction, really, from the relationship. You two together is the one thing, but the main focus is the distraction of planning for the wedding. So they do that for 6 months to a year. Then they get married. Now the wedding happens, happy times, so then that distraction is there. Then the honeymoon is there. And so then they start fighting almost immediately. And usually the first or second year of marriage is kind of terrible. Why? Because her hindbrain doesn't drive her to be in that relationship. So she's not getting the chemical happy hits that she should be getting. Okay, she's just not getting them. Her attraction's lower, sex drops off. So then what happens? We got to have kids. That's what happens. Maybe that before the kids, though, you're going to have a house first. So now it's looking for a house, saving for a house, this and that and the other. The house becomes a distraction from the relationship. Then they get the house. Okay, now they're spitting the kids out. Well, now we have one kid, but, little Johnny needs a brother or sister. Now you have another kid. You see what I mean? And it's women that drive this stuff because they get bored very easily in the relationship. They get bored probably because their hindbrain is ruined from fucking their polygamous driving behavior when they were younger, and now they crave variety, okay? And they can't be with one person. They just can't. It's going to wear off for them after a few years. It gets boring, and if they can't create a distraction for themselves, then they'll get bored, and then they'll start to look to cheat, or they'll start to look to break up, or they'll look at this dude that they've married and there's nothing fucking wrong with them, but they'll devalue the shit out of him and break him down until that he's of course the bad guy and the enemy, and then the divorce happens. Because how many relationships do you know where you talk to a female and she's like, you know what? He's a great dude, it just didn't work out, and here's why. No, the guy is always an asshole. He's always terrible. He did this and that and the other, or he was weak, or he didn't do that. It's all a list of nitpicky bullshit. Okay? That's what it is. It's a list of nitpicking behavior. Why do you think that is? Sometimes he earns it. A lot of times he earns it. But the other side of it is she nitpicked him to death and devalued him until he meant nothing to her, and then she left because her drive is towards polygamy, so she got bored, and that's over with now, okay? So that's a lot of what happens. Not every woman is driven to a monogamous scenario. A woman who is driven to that is going to do certain things. One of those things, though, is she's not going to create distraction and bullshit all the time to distract herself from her unhappiness in the relationship. That's one thing she won't do. So anyways, don't get resource combined with a couple of kids with a woman who's going to fall out of love with you in 7 to 10 years. That's a crazy idea. So that's why I recommend you don't rush into the marriage thing. If you're going to do it, which is already a legal fucking problem for you as a male. I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm saying you got to understand that there's risks involved. If that relationship breaks up, you're probably fucked as the dude, okay? But that being said, if you're going to do it, or even just cohabitate, live together, be together long term, like that. I'm not saying to wait 3 years before any kind of commitment, but certainly before combining resources in any serious manner where it'd be very difficult to break up, wouldn't be just a normal breakup. Wait a few years. and see if she's bored with you and bored with monogamy. And at the same time, do the shit that I recommend that would keep a woman who is wired towards monogamy very interested. Keeping the relationship interesting. Never, I don't care if you're married for 50 years, you don't ever stop courting her, you don't ever stop trying, you don't ever stop putting effort into yourself and effort into her and so forth, right? I mean, that stuff has to be there, okay? Because the relationship can get stale because the dude stops doing those things, and that's not necessarily her drives and her fault. That's your fault as a dude. But if you're doing all the right shit and then all of a sudden she's just creating reasons to get out, you know what I mean? Or creating distractions, and then when the distractions run out because the kids are getting older, now she has to create a reason to get out. The reality is at that point is that she could never do monogamy. No matter what her best intentions were, she may sincerely want it, but she can't do it. She might be able to do an open monogamous relationship where sometimes they have sex with other people. She might be able to do something like that. She might be able to do some sort of poly-driven sort of relationship, but she really can't do monogamy. She unfortunately, if that's, your situation as a female, you need to be honest with yourself and don't suck a dude into monogamy. Just take his resources. Set up a different situation. But see, most women want the resources and they don't want the guy to have sex with other women. So they really want him to be the beta captured guy in the background that takes care of her for a couple years. And then meanwhile, she executes a poly strategy, either by cheating or by mate switching when he's no longer seen of value or of any use. So there's a lot to unpack there. Hopes that makes sense. But this is why vetting and this is why patience and time is really important. Because you just don't know what her drives are until you really spend enough time with her to challenge those drives. But if you are in the 2-3 year mark and you find that she is creating reasons to end the relationship, creating reasons to see you as a piece of shit, creating reasons to break you down and devalue you, there's a high probability, and you're not doing like a bunch of real bad shit to cause that, there's a high probability that she's just in the discarding process because she can't be monogamous. And you may want to consider challenging that stuff, and if you can't get anywhere, then you need to get out of it. But to do all of that, to properly challenge it and properly vet that out, it's going to take more than a YouTube video. And this is why I coach. So if you're in that situation, or if you're facing that situation, or if you're a female and you're just not sure what you want and you're not sure what's going to make you happy, this is why I coach. So instant message me or hit my link, on my page, and sign up for a session. I'll do a free 10-15 minute consultation, and we'll see, what I can do for you, if anything, and then we can go forward from there. All right. This is the rest of your life. It's a big part of your life, and it's very important. So thanks for tuning in. Support me by liking my stuff. Okay. And you're watching this on Facebook Live. Cool. If you're watching this on YouTube though, or whatever, even whichever channel you're watching on, go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, please. I'm trying to build that up and get, help out more people, and that will help me do that. So I provide free content to you. The least you could do is help me and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that, and like videos that you like, so that I can continue to do what I do, and provide good free content for people. So thanks again for tuning in. Have a great day.